Hello, I'm Patrick Perkins, and welcome to Advent, to the parish families of Prince of Peace and St. Francis de Sales. There are some wonderful traditions in Advent. One of them is the Advent wreath. It was actually started centuries ago in Central Europe when, believe it or not, communities would take a wagon wheel, drape it with cloth, place candles around it, lift it high in the air, and then have incense, which would go up in between the wagon wheel. People would then look up and believe that they could see a hint of heaven. Needless to say, we haven't been hanging many wagon wheels lately. But as the tradition continued, the greens, the candles still remain. The 3 purple and the 1 pink. The pink on the 3rd Sunday, or as most priests like to say because of their vestments, the rose color. But there's also the white candle. We often forget that's the Christmas candle that gets lit along with the 4 candles on Christmas Day. While the Advent wreath is a tradition we all know and love, there are other traditions that center around some of the saints' feast days during Advent. December 6th is one, St. Nicholas Day. St. Nicholas was a bishop in the area of Myra, present-day Turkey. He was a very compassionate man and loving man, and the works of mercy about St. Nicholas spread throughout his time. When he died, legends grew about how generous he was. One such legend was about a poor man who had 3 daughters. Now, because he was poor, he had no dowry for them for a wedding, so they were going to be sold off into marriage, also slavery. However, their shoes were out by the front of the house, and on the night before the oldest daughter was to be married off, St. Nicholas put coins representing her dowry in her shoes. The second night, the second daughter's shoes are found with coins in there. The third morning, for the 3rd daughter, the coins are there again. The tradition still remains of putting your shoes out and having coins put in your shoes. Holland still does this to this day, and if you ask any of my children, they often put out their shoes on the night of December 5th to get those coins. Coins in the shoes became stockings, stockings, well, you know that story. St. Nicholas became Sinter, means saint, Sinterklaas, Santa Claus. But he was more than just Santa Claus. Let's remember him on December 6th. It's the date of his death. It's his feast day. As a wonderful man, a generous man. There's another saint that happens, her feast day happens in Advent, St. Lucia. That's December 13th. St. Lucia was a young girl in Sicily who unfortunately was put to death because she would not renounce her faith. She too became known for her generosity, and when her story was told and taken to Sweden with the missionaries, there were stories and legends grew about this young girl dressed in white with a wreath on her head of greens, lit with candles, coming to the poor. In her honor, many people gave gifts to the poor in St. Lucia's day. Now, that family tradition is an interesting one. The oldest daughter dresses in white, wears a wreath on her head, lit with candles, and goes from room to room, waking up everyone and then serving them coffee or hot chocolate and a special pastry made, a St. Lucia cake. Then the rest of the day in Sweden is celebrated with parades, celebrations, church, and it's a special time for giving to the poor, especially children. There are many more Catholic and Christian traditions that happen during Advent. We just have to look for them. I've given you 2, not counting the Advent wreath. There's also another one, Our Lady of Guadalupe, which I'll talk about on another day. But find your own family traditions, steeped in preparing for Christ. Christ coming in the present, in the past, and in the future, and in our hearts. As Miss Jan Mirza would say, welcome Advent.